morning, everybody. I hope you're having a good week. It's Tuesday. I have no idea what date, but it's Tuesday. Here are some lemons. The neighbor lady likes to decorate for Christmas and showed me her house, and I just noticed she had some pretty lemons on her in her kitchen. So I've been having lemons for the last year or two on the counter. This is Acts 19:21. After all this happened, Paul decided to go to Jerusalem, passing through Macedonia and Achaia. After I've been there, he said, I must visit Rome also. So Paul purposed in the Spirit, hopefully we're all purposed in the Spirit, said, after I have been there, he said, I must visit Rome also. So he's passing through Macedonia and Achaia, and he's going to Jerusalem. So after all this happened, what happened? I forgot what happened yesterday. Paul decided to go to Jerusalem, passing through Macedonia and Achaia. And then he says, I must visit Rome also. He is an active guy for the Lord. He sent his 2 assistants ahead to Macedonia while he stayed a while longer in Asia. So Timothy and Erastus he sent ahead to Macedonia. Go ahead of me. And he stayed a while longer in Asia. I wonder what part of Asia he was. Paul said, I'll stay a little longer in the province of Asia. About that time, there arose a great commotion about the way. So I think that's what Christianity was called back there, the way. And about this time that Paul was traveling, there arose a great commotion or turbulence, trouble with the way. Acts 19:24, a silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines, altars of Artemis, brought in a lot of business for the craftsmen there. He called them together along with the workers in related trades. So here's Demetrius, a silversmith for Diana. I think Diana is a Roman name and Artemis is a Greek name. I'm not sure. So a silversmith named Demetrius who made silver shrines or altars. Gotta worship. People would worship that. Artemis there. Brought in a lot of business for the craft people there, workmen. He called them together along with the workers in related trade. So he said, come on everybody, call them the craftsmen together, the workers, and workers in related trades, similar trades, silversmith, goldsmith, whoever made altars, not to God, but to many gods, Artemis, Zeus, Perses. You know, my friends, that we receive a good income from this business, and you see and hear how this fellow Paul has convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus. He says that gods made by human hands are no gods at all. There is danger not only that our trade will lose its good name, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited. It won't be good anymore. They're going to throw out the great name of Artemis. No, it won't be credited. It won't be valid. So he says, our trade will lose its good name, and Diana may be despised. The Greek goddess will be despised. There's no Diana. I don't know what he's talking about. It's made up. When they heard this, they were furious and began shouting. So I'll go over that one more time. We receive a good income from this business. And you see and hear this fellow Paul has convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus. He says that gods made by human hands are no gods at all. That is dangerous, not only that our trade will lose its good name, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited. When they heard this, they were furious and began shouting. The silversmiths, oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. Great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Shouting, great is Artemis of the Ephesians. Soon the whole city was in an uproar. The people seized Gaius and Aristarchus, Paul's traveling companions from Macedonia, and all of them rushed into the theater together. So I should put this. City is in an uproar. Upended, upset. That's an interesting word, roar. Uproar. The people seized Gaius and Aristarchus, I'm not sure, Paul's traveling companions. And all of them rushed into the theater, kind of a building, arena, together. Not a movie theater, but a building where people gathered, maybe an arena, I'm not sure. So there was a lot of confusion. They seized Paul's friends and rushed into the building. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd, but the disciples wouldn't let him. The disciples said, no, don't go. And Paul said, I must. I've got to go talk to the crowd. The disciples say, no, don't go. Maybe our friends say, no, don't do it. And you really got to pray about it, whether you should or not. Even some of the officials of the province, friends of Paul, sent him a message begging him not to venture into the theater. And the officials, leaders, came and said, no, Paul, we beg you, don't go in the theater. So what's Paul going to do? I'm not sure. I forgot. Acts 19:32. The assembly was in great confusion. Some were shouting one thing, some another. Most of the people did not even know why they were there. That's a bunch of people, a group of people shouting one thing, Other people are shouting another, great confusion. And most people did not know why they were there. Why are we here? I have no idea. Somebody dragged me and said, come on over or something. So I guess Paul did not go and listen to those around him. Acts 19:33. The Jews in the crowd pushed Alexander to the front, and they shouted instructions to him. He motioned for silence in order to make a defense before the people. But when they realized he was a Jew, they all shouted in unison for 2 hours. The Jews in the crowd pushed Alexander to the front. I don't have that drawn. And they shouted instructions to him. He told them, be quiet, motioned for silence in order to make a defense before the people. But when they realized he was a Jew, they all shouted in unison for 2 hours. That would be horrible. So Alexander was pushed to the front and said, motion to be silent. Hey, shh, be quiet. And then the people realized, hey, you're a Jew, so this is anti-Semitic. They don't like Jews right now. They're Greek. And they're saying, great is Diana of Ephesus, shouting for 2 hours. Hey, should we do that now? For 2 hours. Ready, begin. Great is Diana, great is Diana, great is Diana. Let's stop. The city clerk quieted the crowd and said, fellow Ephesians, you have brought these men here, though they have neither robbed temples nor blasphemed our goddess. If there is anything further you want to bring up, it must be settled in a legal assembly, a meeting. As it is, we are in danger of being charged with rioting because of what happened today. In that case, we would not be able to account for this commotion since there is no reason for it. So here's the clerk and city clerk, and he says, "You brought these men here. Be quiet. You brought them here, though they haven't robbed the temples or talked bad, blasphemed our goddess. If there is anything further you want to bring up, it must be settled in a legal assembly meeting." Maybe the Romans run Greece, I'm not sure. "As it is, we are in danger of being charged with rioting, commotion, out of control problems, crowd problems, because of what happened today. In that case, we would not be able to account for this commotion. There's no reason for this. Come on." And after this, he said this, he dismissed the assembly. Quiet, and then said what he said, and then he dismissed him. Everybody leave. I like this guy, because that would be a scary time. Acts 21. When the uproar had ended, Paul sent for the disciples, and after encouraging them, said goodbye and set out for Macedonia. So there was an end of the uproar. Yay! When the uproar had ended, Paul sent for the disciples. "Come here, disciples. I'm going to Macedonia. Goodbye." He said goodbye and set out for Macedonia. He was encouraging them. Do people encourage you or discourage you? He encouraged them with many words. So I put a, the, and. Paul encouraged them with many words. We want to encourage each other right now at this time. He traveled through that area, speaking many words of encouragement to the people, and finally arrived in Greece, where he stayed for 3 months. Wait, he wasn't in Greece? What? He wasn't in Ephesus? I'm confused. I gotta research this. So he traveled through the area, speaking many words of encouragement to the people, and finally arrived in Greece. So here's words of encouragement to the people here. Words of encouragement to the people here. Words of encouragement to the people here. And then he finally arrived in Greece, where he stayed for 3 months. 1, 2, 3 months. He stayed 3 months in Greece. Because some Jews had plotted against him, just as he was about to set sail for Syria, he decided to go back through Macedonia. So some Jews plotted against him, made a plan against him as he was about to set sail for Syria. So these guys are against him. So he's going to go back through Macedonia. So sometimes we're going to go one way, and it's maybe the coronavirus or something happens, and we have to go back through another way. God's plans. Crazy, crazy plans. He was accompanied by Sopater, son of Pyrrhus from Berea, Aristarchus and Secundus from Thessalonica, Gaius from Derbe, Timothy, Tychicus, I have no idea how to say that, and Trophimus from the province of Asia. So they're going to Troas. He was accompanied by Sopater. That's nice to have a lot of friends and disciples. Sopater, Aristarchus, and Secundus. That means second, right? Gaius, Timothy, Tychicus, and Trophimus. And they're going to Troas. These men went on ahead and waited for us at Troas. So it's quite a group, an entourage. All these guys are going first, and then Paul and Luke are coming later. And Luke is just a hidden guy. He doesn't talk much about himself. But he says we once in a while. But we sailed from Philippi after the festival of unleavened bread, and 5 days later joined the others at Troas, where we stayed 7 days. So they left Philippi after the festival of unleavened bread. So these are different Jewish festivals. I guess maybe that's like close to Passover or something. I'm not sure. When they left Egypt and didn't have leaven in their bread, and leaven means sin, I believe. So we sailed from Philippi after the festival of leavened bread, and 5 days later, 5, we joined the others at Troas. So there's the 7 men, and then they stayed for 7 days at Troas. So they left from Philippi. 5 days later, they joined the others at Troas and stayed for 7 days. Acts 29. On the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight. So Paul's like, okay, I'm going to leave, so I'm just going to talk some more. So the first day of the week, I guess a Monday or Sunday, since they're Jewish, on the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. That's a controversy. Some people celebrate the first day on Monday, first day of the week, and others do Sunday. So first week of the day of the week, we'll say Monday. Paul spoke till midnight because he's going to leave the next day, and they were breaking bread. That's very important, is to eat together and fellowship and talk. And I have a feeling that Paul was probably sitting with them. I'm not sure. This is like a dinner theater. So Paul spoke to midnight. They were breaking bread, and there were many lamps in the upstairs room where we were meeting. So they're probably candles. I'm sure they were candles, but those are my lights or my Chinese lanterns. I don't know. Acts 29. Seated in a window was a young man named Eutychus, who was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground from the 3rd story and was picked up dead. So, seated in a window was a young man named Eutychus. He was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. Was he boring, or just Eutychus was tired? When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground, oh no, from the 3rd story and was picked up dead. Acts 20:10. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, and put his arms around him. So Paul went down, threw himself on the young man, and put his arms around him. Don't be alarmed, he said. He's alive. So there's Paul getting Eutychus, who's dead. So he's going to open his eyes. I should have a picture of that. Right over here. Here's Eutychus with his eyes open. Then he went upstairs again and broke bread and ate. After talking until daylight, he left. So then he went upstairs again. I should have some stairs. He went upstairs again and broke bread and ate. Boy, those guys stayed up all night. That's pretty good. I can't do that anymore. After talking until daylight, he left. Goodbye. And it's talked until daylight. That must have been wonderful. The people took the young man home alive and were greatly comforted. So the people took Eutychus back home alive, and they were greatly comforted and happy and felt secure. Hopefully you feel comforted and secure. And let's read one more. Acts 20:13. We went on ahead to the ship and sailed for Assos. So I guess they were up all night and then went ahead. Assos, we'll say Assos, where we were going to take Paul aboard. He had made this arrangement because he was going there on foot. When he met us at Assos, we'll say, sounds like a funny word. We took him aboard and went to Mytilene. The next day, we set sail from there and arrived off Chios. The day after that, we crossed over to Samos, and on the following day arrived at Miletus. Paul had decided to sail past Ephesus to avoid spending time in the province of Asia, for he was in a hurry to reach Jerusalem, if possible, by the day of Pentecost. So we went on ahead to the ship and sailed for Assos. We were going to take Paul aboard. He had made this arrangement. We went on ahead to the ships and sailed for Assos, where we're going to take Paul aboard. So we'll meet you, Paul, at Assos. He made this arrangement because he was going there on foot. He met us on foot. I wonder why. When he met us at Assos, we took him aboard and we went to Mytilene. The next day we set sail for there and arrived off Chios. The next day we crossed over to Samos, and on the following day arrived at Miletus. Paul had decided to sail past Ephesus to avoid spending time in the province of Asia, for he was in a hurry to reach Jerusalem, if possible by the day of Pentecost. So I don't know if he wanted to be there for the festival or bad weather. Pentecost is when the Holy Spirit came on everybody and they spoke in tongues. That's Acts 2. So we went from here, met him on foot, went from here and here and here and here, went past Ephesus. Wait, Ephesus is Asia or Greece? I have to look that up. He wanted to avoid spending time in Asia. So I should put Asia, cross it out. No Asia. He wanted to hurry to Jerusalem. There's a lot in the Bible, isn't there? I think I'm going to stop here. Paul preaches and talks about repentance and his life. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good, blessed day.